What if I told you that everything you think you know about sex is completely fake? Well, porn sex, to be specifically. You see, as a retired adult film star myself, I know exactly what the difference is between real sex and porn sex. In today's video, I'm gonna go over some of the fakest things in pornography and what differentiates porn sex from real sex. Much in the way that action movies are a complete fabrication of what real life hand-to-hand or gun-to-gun combat is actually like, pornos are kind of the equivalent to real life sex. So let's start off by talking about makeup. Lighting and makeup and wardrobe and lingerie and plastic surgery massively warp and distort the image of the average woman that's in a pornographic film. See, men have what is known today as porn brain. But not just men have porn brain, women also have porn brain. You see, pornography paints the picture of average women, or, you know, the girl next door, as being this perfectly proportioned, completely flawless, stunningly beautiful woman. And what most guys don't realize is that that woman has been sitting in a makeup chair for about 2 hours prior to getting filmed. And she's also under the best, directional lighting she could possibly be to make any flaws or imperfections in her physique go away. And on top of that, whenever you see things that are photographs, they are also digitally altered as well. So it gives guys this a very false impression of how beautiful the average woman actually is. Now, on top of that, I think personally, maybe I'm wrong with this one, but if you look at the way that the average woman, especially once they hit their 30s and they're trying to improve their beauty, trying to keep up with their fading look, shall we say, the extremes these women go to look like women in porn are quite dramatic. You look at the lip fillers, the Botox, the boob jobs, the BBLs, the tummy tucks, need I go on, the eyebrows, the lashes, the extensions, the nails, all of this stuff. I think that the average woman is also subject to this porn brain phenomenon as well, because they're trying to match this ridiculous standard, which is only achievable through the professional input of professional makeup artists and professional lighting guys and professional photographers and professional videographers. So it creates this very unrealistic expectation of the female form. Now, another way that porn is really fake is obviously porn is designed for men. Right? It's men are the customer for pornography. Obviously not all pornography, but the vast majority of pornography, its customer is a dude at the end of the day, not a woman. And so for that reason, porn is designed and filmed to be extremely visually stimulating. Now, what that means though, is that probably 80% of the time when the two people on camera are having sex, they're having sex at such an angle and in such positions, such acrobatic positions all the time, that it's not actually enjoyable for either him or her. It's purely done. A lot of these really acrobatic positions, I mean, one that might come immediately to mind is the pile driver. These positions are purely done for a visually stimulating effect, and so that the camera and the light can get into the penetration, shall we say, and actually see what's going on. If you were to watch a film of two people having regular sex, not for a camera, versus two professional porn stars having sex, it would look drastically different. And you can in fact see that on, shall we say, badly filmed amateur pornography on websites like Pornhub. These two things are totally night and day different. So realize that a lot of those really acrobatic and visually stimulating positions in pornography are purely done for the viewer's pleasure, and they're not done for the pleasure of either the man or the woman, particularly at the angle in which they're being done. So copying the positions you see in porn, not always going to be, yielding the best results pleasure-wise for you or your partner. Another way that porn sex is very fake is the lack of build-up and the lack of foreplay and the lack of arousal and flirting. Fundamentally, the lack of build-up of sexual tension. You see, in real life, there's a buildup of sexual tension prior to you and her even getting into the bedroom, right? We're talking about making out, we're talking about being, touchy-feely with one another, we're talking about flirtation, dirty talk, things like this. And because of the nature of, what it's designed to be, the product that it is, all of that gets glossed over. Because, and again, this ties back into the reason being that porn is predominantly a product for men and the male brain. It's tapping into the fantasy, emphasis on the word fantasy, of a woman not needing needing any buildup of sexual tension to be ready for sex. This is a male fantasy of a woman being immediately down to have sex with him without him needing to build any attraction or comfort with her whatsoever. She just likes him for who he is and is immediately down to jump on his penis, basically. She's magically enthusiastic for him just because he exists. This can give some more delusional men, shall we say, or a very unrealistic expectation of the amount of work that is required from you as a man to attract a woman and get her sexually attracted to you. Another big reason that porn is fake is orgasms. Let's be honest, some of the orgasms, not all, when there's good chemistry going on between the actress and the actor, there are a lot of real orgasms happening. But when the director needs something to transition between certain sex positions, when he needs something that's got to be written into the script, they have to orgasm at this exact time, or they have to orgasm from this particular position or this particular sex act. Okay, that is faked for the sake of just getting the job done and moving on with the scene. Another big example of this is squirting orgasms. If you basically have ever watched a porno where the word squirting is in the title of the porno, well, that is just a woman who's drank like a gallon of water before the scene, and she's just pushing your piss basically out of her urethra at the right time in the scene to make it look like she's squirting. Now, she's probably also enjoying herself. The guy is probably doing some kind of stimulation to make her, actually enjoy herself, obviously. And don't get me wrong, some of these female porn stars are actually natural squirters, but a lot of the time, that shit is completely faked. And you know what else is faked? And this is something none of you will have guessed. The male orgasm is faked all the time as well. How can that be, Stirling? I'll tell you, when they need to get a photograph of a cream pie, a photograph of a cum shot, they're not doing it twice. Think about that for a second. If you see a photograph of like what we call the stills from that scene, and the woman has semen on her face, or semen in it coming out of her vagina, right? They also film the scene as well. And most dudes can't like pop twice back to back that quickly with that level of intensity required in the sex. So what we do in that industry is they use a thing called Cetaphil. And they basically take this, hand wash, soap, I believe Cetaphil's a soap. Is it a soap? Whatever. And they pump a bit of that onto the woman's face or onto her pussy, and voila. And they take photos to simulate the male orgasm without him actually having to orgasm. Also, in some cream pie scenes you will see, those are faked as well. So they basically get a syringe, fill it with Cetaphil again, inject that into the woman's pussy. The guy puts his dick in her, the camera says roll action, and he pulls out and she pushes the fake ejaculate out of her vagina. So even the men's orgasms are faked in a lot of porn. Another big way that porn sex is fake is that everything is made to look seamless, effortless, smooth, and flawless. A really great example of this is you never see anybody tripping over a pair of jeans to get naked to have sex. You never see the dudes tripping over jeans, you never see the women, if they're wearing jeans, tripping over them, trying to get them off. That is something that happens in regular sex all the time. But because porno is shot in such a way to make it obviously be a fantasy, to make it smooth, to make it flawless and seamless. All of the things that happen during real sex, which could be considered somewhat awkward and realistic, right? These are all edited out, cut out, scripted out, obviously. Another really good example of how porn makes things seem effortless is anal sex scenes. So anytime that a woman is engaging in anal sex in a porno, there's no mess, shall we say. And that is because that woman has prepped for the scene the night before and then the morning of to ensure that there is no mess coming out of her at that point. The average person, if they engage in that practice and they try that, there's likely to be some mess. You should probably do that with a towel down or something like that, or do it in the shower where there's not going to be as messy. But that's another example of where porno sex gives people an unrealistic expectation of what to expect engaging in certain sex acts. Another thing that porn sex doesn't show that is common in real sex is breaks. Even if you're the kind of guy who can go for a very long time, 30 minutes, an hour, a couple of hours or whatever, right? Or maybe you're the kind of guy who can go back to back, you can ejaculate, take a quick break, and then go back again, right? These sort of natural breaks in the act of sex where you might stop, roll over, catch your breath, get a drink of water, laugh about something, flirt a bit more, switch things up, get some toys out of the cupboard, try tying your hands up, just anything. All these little different breaks and things are seamlessly pushed out of the viewer's sight because it's not sexy, but it's realistic. That is the way that real sex is done. People can take breaks. People can stop and get a drink of water and come back, recharge, ready to go again for round two. These things are deliberately cut out of your average porno. And another big thing that porno sex doesn't like to include in a lot of its scenes, and this does depend upon which company is shooting the porno, I'll admit that, but they don't like to really show the two actors connecting and actually show the chemistry, the evolution of the chemistry between the actress and the actor. Now, there is very often a lot of electric sexual chemistry between the two performers, but that actually happens all off camera before the cameras are even rolling, because it's kind of hard for you to sort of, if you need it to be done on camera, you're acting it, and if it's organic and natural, it's very rarely actually caught on camera. So that again robs people of this understanding, that electric feeling you can get between each other before sex, that build-up of sexual tension that I mentioned early on. That is needed for mind-blowing sex. That is one of the core components of mind-blowing sex, and that's fundamentally where real sex is way better and way more enjoyable than porno sex. As a guy who used to shoot these videos for a living, I can tell you that real life sex is way more enjoyable and way more fun. And I'll tell you one more reason why that is. In real sex, you don't have somebody directing you, telling you which position to do, what to say, where to have sex, how fast to have sex, how slow to have sex, etc. You don't have someone constantly over your shoulder in your ear telling you to change this, open up, turn this way, turn that way, move it this way, move it that way, right? It's very annoying and it's very interrupting to your flow and your rhythm. Real sex is so much more enjoyable. As a guy who got out of the industry back in 2020, I can tell you wholeheartedly that my sex life with real sex is way more enjoyable than it ever was with pornos. Porn sex also gives guys this false impression that women are visual creatures in the same way that men are. And this is really not the case. They also give the impression that women can be emotionally detached from sex. Now, the women who shoot pornography, this is very much the case for a lot of them. For most of them, to be fair. But that is a learned habit. There's a learned behavior. The average woman cannot dissociate emotionally from sex. Men can, but women really, really struggle to dissociate emotionally from sex and just see it as a purely physical experience. So at the end of the day, I don't want you to let porno sex make you think that the sex that you're having in your real life, in everyday life, is in any way inadequate, is in any way abnormal or not up to scratch for your partner. You're probably a much better lover than you give yourself credit for. If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe if you want more no bullshit sex advice for men. That is my specialty. And if you know someone who needs to hear this video, then send it to them, please. It'll do them a massive favor. And drop us a comment down below if you've got any more insight into what we've talked about today. I'd love to hear your opinions.